Can you give your opinion on this interaction?
Why don't we add some substance and form to this? Because in my mind, it's all very vague. So this
got it. Yes, I love it. Like, let's ground this out in some examples. Everybody needs to do this so much more. Please, just like, let's list some examples. What exactly are we talking about? Yeah.
Like, I understand what you're saying conceptually, but it's still very vague. Can you give me specific examples of ways that Biden could have been more, could have been more of a bully, could have been more of a, use that bully pulpit to, put up a fight? Like, can you give me like examples during his, first 2 years where he should have done more? They say the $15 an hour minimum wage. I think that's bullshit. But like, can you give me a different example?
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked because even if they'd overruled the parliament, which he could have done, he could have snapped his fingers and had that done. Let's be clear about that. But it still wouldn't result in $15 minimum wage because Manchin and Sinema would have voted against it. So you got the PACT Act through, so you didn't need to do anything about that. The inflation, I guess, what was the big snafu about Build Back Better? Remind me about
the negotiations failed and broke down, and then they restarted the negotiations, and like 6 months later, it was two different bills. It was the IRA, and it was the infrastructure bill. It was I don't know what the second one.
No, I think it was the IRA or the Inflation Reduction Act, like the climate change provisions in particular. Like a lot of that went over into the IRA, so he snatched a Pyrrhic victory from the jaws of defeat there, right? A half victory.
Was that him being feckless though? Vanguard says that's feckless because all he got was a watered down infrastructure bill.
No, they're wrong about that. The Inflation Reduction Act, we support it, and we think that it was good for Biden to get that. Now, Biden had to push Manchin. Now, it wasn't in the form that Vanguard was saying, right? Or that's, I think Kyle said to you, Hutch, he was like, they should have announced investigations or threatened to like DOJ investigate shit, which is insane. And that's
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. We agree with you there on the specific Manchin point. Okay. And we also, by the way, I think that when the Vanguard says like the IRA was like, who cares about this shit? Like, no, or at least they imply that. I don't agree with that. I think these are like good pieces of legislation, 100%. I have said that Biden, I think, is like the best president in our lifetimes in that respect.
Hold on, ask for a specific example. Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking for a specific example whereby the kind of pressure we're talking about would be a but-for cause in enacting some kind of legislation. That's what you're asking for, and I can't provide that to you. Well, no, that it's.
Then what are we talking about?
That in the recent era, I can provide you a place where the kind of ruthlessness that we're talking about, but for a more ruthless figure.
The only person that I can target specifically, it's not even a situation, just a specific figure that I do think Biden had the potential to be more quote-unquote ruthless with is Kirsten Sinema. Manchin, I think, is unimpeachable because of West Virginia. He was definitely the best. I mean, he was a godsend.
Like, this is the problem that these guys are kind of having. I don't know if... I don't think Josiah is having it that much. I don't know if Piska is having it that much. The Vanguard guys definitely do, but they're fucking retarded.
Hey, here. I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
Why was Bane working for him before and then Bane kills him now? What changed? He had leverage over Bane. He had money. Bane needed his resources to do the shit in the city. But now Bane's got everything. He doesn't need it anymore. This guy has no power over him. I don't know why it's so hard to understand. In a 50-50 Congress, what are you threatening them with? The bully pulpit, you're not just bullying because you're being mean to somebody. You're bullying because you can flex some kind of power over them. And we had none. It was a 50-50 Senate.
For Democrats for West Virginia, trying to flip West Virginia to a Democrat, more progressive than Manchin, it's not just a two-term project that's multi-generational. It could possibly never happen. Sinema, on the other hand, was a wildly unpopular incumbent senator in a purple state that Democrats had a really good chance of flipping, and of course we did once she left. So I think that Biden had more room to flex on her, at least in theory, than Manchin.
Okay, I'm a little mind blown right now because like you guys are trying to paint this narrative that there were opportunities for Biden to be more forceful in his position.
But you can't name a single one. Yes.
But you can't give me any specific examples.
Yep. That's right. It's literally just a fucking meme. It's just a meme thing that keeps getting repeated without thought over and over again. Yes.
When it would have had any tangible benefit.
No. Hang on a second. Do you agree there's a difference between tangible benefit and being a but-for cause and passing legislation? Agreed, those are different.
No, I'm talking about both. I mean, either or, right? Like any benefit.
Either one.
But do you agree that they're actually different things?
Yeah, either one. He's asking for either one. You can't give either one. Just one example.
Tangible benefit is not the same as being the but-for cause.
Yes. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I think a tangible benefit with respect to public polling, right? The people felt that Joe Biden was asleep.
That's a different argument. Who cares if the people felt? The people felt that way because of people like you. Because you keep repeating the message. Because you keep repeating this bullshit. That's why the people feel that way.
The wheel. The people felt that Joe Biden wasn't doing his job. And so in terms of tangible benefits, I think being more ruthlessly publicly actually would have had the tangible benefit of making people think that he was giving a fuck instead of being asleep at the wheel. And I think that having better approval ratings for President Biden would have been beneficial to the Democratic Party, both in the midterms, which were close in 2022, and in 2024, ultimately we had to drop out with Kamala Harris. I think it was a close election anyway. So I do think that having these kinds of signals, public policy snafus, messaging and stuff is helpful. A tangible benefit of that would be effects on polling, effects on public, how they view the presidency. And for you to say something like it would not have an effect, that how you signal wouldn't have an effect.
This is not the president's job. I don't want a social media influencer president. How about the media apparatus does a better job here? How about alternative media does a better job here? How about lawmakers in Congress do a better job here? How about like you White House staffer? You could argue maybe Biden should have hired some more media savvy people if you wanted to give that criticism. Maybe sure, that's fine.
I think that's the crazy position, and I do think that's a tangible benefit.
First of all, you'd have to demonstrate that Biden's poll numbers slipped because the public thought he was ineffective. That's not true. The public polls didn't slip because of that. It had to do with...
And it's so funny. It had to do with, I wonder what Hutch is about to say, because there was one huge thing that fucked us hard on the polling numbers. Now, I don't know if this was outcome determinative in the election, but it was a Trump policy. Two Trump policies, kind of, but one big one, and the big one was Donald Trump going to f***ing Qatar to have talks with his boyfriends in the f***ing Taliban and cutting up Afghanistan to secret deals that the Afghanistan government had no f***ing idea about, and then pushing the final withdrawal date out of his presidential term. And by the way, remember when you hear people say, oh, was it Milley defied Trump? The thing that Trump wanted to do when he was leaving was to pull every single fucking soldier out of Afghanistan right as he was leaving. That's what he wanted to do. That's what people were talking about when they say, oh, the generals ignored Trump when he was going. That's what he wanted to do. He already had the numbers down to historic lows, but he wanted to pull everything out so that Biden would have had, right, like on day one, he would have had the Afghanistan disaster. But it's...
initially the Delta variant and the Afghanistan withdrawal. The
the Delta variant, true, sure. But the Afghanistan withdrawal...
People's problems with Biden was not his legislative track record. Literally every bill that he passed was popular. So that's the first of all. The second of all, you would have to demonstrate that him being meaner about like things not getting passed so as to signal to his voters that he's a fighter. You'd have to signal that would have had a benefit for his polls, which I totally reject. Like, let's say he's mean to Cinema or Manchin, like, I'm really crossed. You guys didn't do my $15 an hour minimum wage. How do you know that the public is not going to see that as like, well, I feel like that's going to make the problem even worse. I feel like that's going to create a problem where the public's going to look at that and say, wow, you're ineffective. You're just highlighting your own failure. You understand that, right?
So the first thing you think is you question the notion that the polling reflected that people didn't think that Biden was doing a good job or that Biden was competent and stuff, and that because you're pointing to the general favorability of the bills. And again, I agree that the bills that he passed probably were favorable. I'm not amounting all of Biden's polling problems to people's own perceptions about his personal failings. I think they have a contributing role. Like people's perceptions of him being active, him being absent, right? Like him being a vigorous force do have an effect on polling. I think it's crazy to think they don't have an effect on it. But I do also agree that it's not just one thing, right? Like obviously the fundamentals of the situation, the economy, prices, COVID, all this stuff absolutely affects it as well. But you're dealt; those are kind of done, right? Like you're dealt those cards. You're dealt the cards of.
I watched this whole almost 5-hour argument. Josiah is closest to getting what Hutch is saying, but none of them are willing to concede that they are wrong about the top-down push to primary people who want to keep the filibuster. They want to think they have some way of enforcing this. Yeah, it was... Who was saying that? Was it also Hutch saying it in the last debate with the Vanguard people? Saying that people just had no respect for the Congress? I think it was Hutch, wasn't it? I'm trying to think because I can't imagine it was either of these two or Econo Boy. It was Hutch. Yeah. The problem is that in a game like StarCraft or League of Legends, you have games are broken into these different phases of like, you have preparation and then you have fights and then you have, resolution of the game or whatever, right? Your fighting phases, when you have armies that are fighting each other, at that point, you have to fight with what you have, but your options are going to be limited based on how things went in the preparation phase, right? And it might be the fact that your preparation phase was so bad that by the time you get to the fighting phase, your options are either extremely limited, such that all you can do is kind of minimize losses, or you just lose and you can't do anything about it, right? Insofar as StarCraft, you can't micro your way out of bad macro, right? If your macro sucks, if you have no economy, even if the other guy's micro sucks, he's just going to overwhelm you. Your shit is going to get pushed in. There's nothing you can do about it. And this is the problem: is leftists, meaning socialists or communists, or sometimes uber progressives, will look at us getting raped in the House and the Senate, and then we have no majorities there anywhere, or a majority is a hair's width, and then they're like, well, why aren't we fighting harder? And it's like, where's the graph? You know what? Why did I just waste all this time spending? Give me the chart. Somebody link the chart. Link the chart. And that's all I really need to point to. Link the chart. Where is it? Somebody's linking it. Destiny, read the paragraph. I don't read the. Every time you tell Republicans some facts about Trump, they do that. I don't know about that thing. Do they? Do you not think that pointing out the reason they don't know about that is because they are just being manipulated by Republicans' news is productive? No, they'll just say, I don't watch Republican news. They'll say, I watch centrists like Joe Rogan and shit. I know. Okay, this is one of the charts, but this isn't the chart I was looking for. It's a different chart. It's the circle one with the 4 things. Don't say the chart next time. You should know exactly what I'm talking about. Not even wrong. Or should I say, where's the chart is like, it's the chart. It's the one that explains all of this whole 5-hour stream, I'm guessing. The chart is, you don't elect Democrats, you don't elect any of them to get into the House, and then it's like Dems do nothing, and then it's like complain about Dems, and then it's like it's this one or whatever, and then it just repeats over and over and over again. The chart. This is the chart. Ooh, this is a good one, but not this. It's not this one. I've never seen this one before. Economy collapsed under a Republican president. America elects a Democrat president who sets the country on the path to recovery. The economy, or the economic recovery, is slow and uneven, so America elects a Republican president. Republicans institute their economic agenda. Repeat. That's a good one. Find the chart. It's you don't. There are not enough Democrats in Congress. Democrats can't get anything done. People complain that the Democrats are worthless, and then they don't vote for any Democrats. And then there are no Democrats in Congress. They can't get anything done, and then people complain that the Democrats don't do anything, and then they don't vote for any. It's that one. It's the 4-1. That's what I'm looking for. Do you think it was possible for Democrats to put more safeguards into law so the situation could have been prevented while they had majorities in the past? No! We do not have an issue right now with abuses of the system. We have an issue with the fact that half of Americans support the abuse. That's the problem. It's not this stupid Republican one. I hate you all. You guys all failed today, all right? I know you're cheating on your tests. Now you all get a big 0.
Of the Taliban taking over after the decision to take out the Afghanistan withdrawal, your Delta card of the COVID Delta variant, you can't affect that. You can't affect the fact that inflation, largely a global phenomenon, is happening. So I definitely agree. Like, he's not fully responsible in that sense for all the negative effects on the polling, and I sympathize a lot with the struggle. All I am saying, I think this is a modest proposal, is that looking like you give a fuck, being more active, being more in front of the cameras, being able to go in front, and again, it's not just the age thing. So I think it is related to that, but it is also taking a stand, going to the street, talking to people, and maybe it doesn't. I wouldn't characterize it as.
That's not Biden. That's not Biden's job. Biden is or is he supposed to? Is Biden supposed to be on the street doing interviews?
Specifically going and being a dick to all the members of Congress and looking like you're incompetent, like Trump does, in terms of starting fights with everybody. So I wouldn't be so. I wouldn't take it in its most acrimonious or its most pugnacious incarnation of what we're talking about. But generally being someone who's going to look like they're giving a shit. I think that is a modest proposal to say that perhaps people would be more sympathetic to Biden in the position he was in if it looked like he was taking a stand in other ways. And that doesn't have to translate, by the way, in going to fucking West Virginia and talking shit about Manchin and saying that he fucking sucks donkey dick. And it doesn't need to translate into literally ordering the DOJ to investigate Manchin's like daughter or whatever. But there's stuff on the table, right? Biden left shit on the table. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, so listen, I've got to pop out because I've got to record another video because I'm way behind. I'll just say this. Like, look, I think, like, when you were speaking, Hutch, like, the impression I got was that Biden's approach, his disposition, his presentation as being seen as a forceful and vigorous leader is kind of irrelevant because his bills were popular and his legislative record was amazing. But if that were the case, then he wouldn't have been doomed to failure. Like, he would have been favored in the election. Like, it's not.
Like, I love Josiah. I don't know if these guys need a corrective mechanism, but like, I feel like if you were to talk to him for like 2 seconds, he would realize how delusional
the opinions
of a take that is, right? If Biden's legislation was actually good, then Americans would have appreciated that and would have thought him a more popular president. Like, that is probably the most delusional take I've ever heard in my entire life.
Whatever. But there's stuff on the table, right? Biden left shit on the table. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, so listen, I've got to pop out because I've got to record another video because I'm way behind. I'll just say this. Like, look, I think, like, when you were speaking, Hutch, like, the impression I got was that Biden's approach, his disposition, his presentation as being seen as a forceful and vigorous leader is kind of irrelevant because his bills were popular and his legislative record was amazing. But if that were the case, then he wouldn't have been doomed to failure. Like, he would have been favored in the election. Like, it's not about policy, and I still don't think it's about policy because people didn't associate Biden with the policies in the first place. True. I think that so much of this is about shaping perception, and I think that part of the reason we're seeing polling about Democrats being fed up with other Democrats and wanting a change of leadership, a change of pace, I think that is part and parcel of their view of Biden himself. I think if you were to do a word cloud associated with these polls that we all see, that you've even talked about, where the base wants a more vigorous leadership, they're thinking of Biden. Not just Chuck Schumer, not just Hakeem Jeffries. Yep. Thinking of Biden. And
it's not just the leadership, though. I don't blame them, I guess, for not seeing this. It's not just the leadership. It's everything. It's everything. Trump doesn't operate on his own. Trump has every single part of the Republican establishment from top to bottom working in his favor. It's everything. It's everything.
I think it's because Biden came off weak. And I don't think appealing to his policy accomplishments changes that. We agree that in terms of his executive and legislative record, it was truly impressive and vastly more impressive than Trump. And yet, when the poll showed who was a stronger leader, who's a more forceful leader, Trump dominated Biden in those respects.
Yeah, but why? Because everybody's telling you that. Because everybody's repeating that same thing over and over again.
My conception is I think you're I take your point. I can't come up with a but-for example. The best I can do is just say that with somebody like Kirsten Sinema, who was more vulnerable to a Democratic primary and who was unpopular, it's not like she was a popular incumbent. The Democratic Party and the sitting president of the United States, also a Democrat, had leverage over that person. Like, hey, listen, presumably you want to get reelected, right? So you need to start hugging me a little bit more. Joe Manchin can afford to give me the finger because if he wants to stay in office, part of that is predicated on him doing exactly that. But you are vulnerable.
No, hang on. I know you have to leave soon, Josiah, but you are rewriting history because she was just she was just as stubborn as Manchin. She was not movable. You don't think that he did like talk about her in public in ways that were kind of disparaging, and she would like bite back. And
I'm not rewriting history because I didn't say that she wasn't stubborn.
You're saying there was more of an opportunity for him to like bully her a little bit more, but you can't give me any specific example of like on what issue do you think that would have mattered, and you still haven't mitigated the risk of alienating her when you need her votes for the next 2 years, dude.
When I say vulnerable, I'm not talking about her personal, like
Like, just imagine the scenario. Biden says, you know what, Sinema? Fuck you, bitch. We're going to primary you. And Sinema's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm just going to kind of eject myself from the Democratic apparatus. And good luck, because for the next 2 years, you're going to have to pull at least one Republican over to try to get anything passed. So let me know which one's going to break from their ranks. Also, you have to keep Manchin on board with everything at the same time. Like, what? So, okay, let's just sacrifice the entire future legislative agenda to one person and then not get anything done at all. Like,
or she's stubborn, and maybe just on sheer recalcitrance alone, she would have refused to give in to Biden. When I say vulnerable, I mean Democrats. She could have been replaced with a Democrat.
She did, but she didn't care, bro. She was. Do you understand that behind the scenes? No, hold on. You are rewriting history about her. There was reporting.
Again, it's what I said. This is going back to the resource stage when it's time to fight, right? Like you have 50 members in the Senate. There is no bully pulpit. Now you got to fucking negotiate your ass off to work with the tools that you have. The time for winning elections has passed. Like, that's it. Now you have to work with what you have. And you have no power to bully. That's just not a tool in your arsenal. You had 52, 53, maybe 54, 55. Absolutely. 55 plus. Pfft, you're ordering hits on people, okay, in a video game, right? 50-50 with two renegades.
On her, she thought she was going to be a presidential candidate by occupying the same lane as John McCain. You guys understand that? She was like buddying up with Republicans in Congress because she thought the public had an appetite for bipartisanship, and she was going to like return the country to that sort of thing. And so she had all this incentive to like stand in Biden's way on a number of issues. You're completely rewriting history to say that there was an opportunity to like be meaner to her. It's just.
But Hutch, look at the outcome there, right? Like the fact that we pressured, because she was pressured, to Josiah's point, the fact that she was pressured and she started to become a pariah means that she did not run for Senate again in Arizona.
She'll never be president. She'll never be the nominee. She's done.
And she's out of the, and now we have Ruben Gallego.
She'll never be president? Wait, was that her ambition? I'm so confused. Maybe I missed that, to be fair. Did I miss that?
The fact that we pressured, because she was pressured, to Josiah's point, the fact that she was pressured and she started to become a pariah means that she did not run for Senate again in Arizona.
She'll never be president. She'll never be the nominee. She's done.
And she's out of the, and now we have Ruben Gallego. And Ruben Gallego, I have a problem that he voted for the Lincoln Riley Act. I have some problems with, but what a fucking improvement. What a fucking improvement that we have Ruben Gallego. So in that case, right, the fact that she was ostracized from the party in a purple district where a Democrat is, again, the Manchin example, that's a very great example.
Also, I don't know much about Arizona politics, but one thing that I kept hearing repeated over and over and over again is that Arizona is a very, very weird state. Like, weird people get elected there. No, like the party lines are kind of non-standard. That Arizona is just kind of like a bizarro factory state that you can see sometimes extreme progressives, crazy Republicans. There's just like I don't know how true that is, but I remember hearing that repeated a lot whenever people would bring up Sinema.
In your favor, we concede the Manchin example. But there's a tangible victory in. We ran her name through the mud because of actual things she's doing. Sinema stopped showing up for her fucking job. Sinema voted down Biden's NLRB nominations near the end of the tenure. Now, it wouldn't have mattered because ultimately Trump, in my opinion, illegally fired
them anyway, yeah.
The tangible win there is Kristen Sinema was pressured, and now she's out of the fucking party, and we have a better replacement in Ruben Gallego.
I want to emphasize, her political career is over. She gained nothing from this. She's done.
That's
over for her.
At Destiny, the term bully pulpit doesn't mean the ability to bully people. No, it's the ability to threaten electoral consequences on them if they don't follow through. But like, people know how much power you have. People know whether or not you have the ability to actually carry through with that or not.
That's all well and good, but like there was pressure within the party, within the grassroots movements, within the voters themselves, within other politicians who were criticizing her. But do you not understand the value, the utility of Biden not being the one to like publicly crucify her when he needed her votes and support on the other bills? Like, I'm not saying nobody should pick a fight with Kirsten Sinema. I'm saying that Biden was in a really tricky position having a 50-50 Senate, and he couldn't afford to go to war with someone like her.
Yeah, so
bully pulpit means terrific platform, not the ability to bully people. Oh, you're just retarded. I'm sorry, my bad. I'm sorry I wasted time responding to you earlier.
I totally agree that Biden's in a risky position, that any of these carry with it great risks. I don't dispute that at all. I don't know.
Also, I hate this too, okay? Because if Biden would have bullied people harder and gotten them kicked out of the party and no legislation would have been passed, these exact same people would be doing all these podcasts saying Biden up so hard. I don't know why Biden. The best thing about the Democrats is we have better values. We have greater principles than the Republicans. And the fact that Biden tried to run his admin like a Republican, and what did we get for it? The same legislative accomplishments that Trump had in his first term. Nothing. We didn't get any infrastructure bill. We got no Inflation Reduction Act. The American Rescue Plan sucked. Like, everything was horrible. I can't believe Biden attacked when he had they would be saying the exact opposite arguments. The exact opposite arguments if it had gone the other way.
If it would have been more efficacious for Biden to have put more pressure on her publicly, I'm not ruling that out the way that you are. And the one thing that I just strongly disagree is you seem to think that she was invincible the way Manchin is, and you're just wrong on that. You're wrong. To me, it's like, she was fucked. She was fucked.
I didn't say she was invincible.
Yeah, Sinema was definitely not invincible in the way that Manchin was. Manchin is like that's like a blue dude in the reddest fucking place ever. Okay, that's a place. That's where, like, if you go to Manchin and you threaten him with replacing him with literally anybody, he's just gonna laugh at you. Arizona is just a crazy place. All right, Sinema. I think in 2022, I read that she decided she wasn't going to run for re-election. Arizona's just a wildly different place, but that still doesn't guarantee you the ability to get them to bend to whatever whim you want. You know.
Well, I'm asking you to give me a specific...
Yeah, Manchin was at one point, like, I remember the past, Manchin was like the most popular senator in the United States at one point. I don't think Sinema was ever that popular up to that level, yeah.
Like, she was fucked. She was fucked.
I didn't say she was invincible. I'm asking you to give me a specific example of when pressuring her would have amounted to anything good.
Long-term thing, right? So in the long term, right? Now that Sinema has been pressured, people see, right? Like, oh, Sinema did this tactic. Now, and the party rejected that, and her polling numbers showed that. Same with Fetterman. Fetterman is he's going to lose in the Democratic primary. I'm predicting that right now. If he doesn't, by the way, I would advocate that people vote for him. And again, I'm not crazy. I'm practical like you. My inclination, like you, is, and one thing I really, really appreciate you about Hutch, is your pragmatist at heart. But I think that you are focusing on short-term gains instead of
oh my God. First of all, Fetterman is in Pennsylvania, okay? So already a swingier state than where Manchin was. Very different person. Fetterman is also very strange, okay? Fetterman is kind of weird. Like, Fetterman might not make it through his next election, but I mean, like, this guy literally actually had a stroke that is probably impacting his ability to function. It's just, these are the examples, the comparisons here.
the longer
Wait,
picture.
hold on. Please go. Hang on a second. Why? You're talking about long-term goals. Do you understand that Joe Biden...
Hutch looked that up yesterday and found that Manchin had approvals in the 30s. By the end of his term, he might have, but at the time when he was like publicly fighting against Biden, his approval was the highest of any senator in the country. Now, it might just be because people like to see him fight the president or some bullshit, but he had incredibly high approval during those fights with Biden.
Biden had a short-term goals, two years. You understand? Like, number one, do you concede that politics and getting stuff passed has just as much to do with personal relationships as it does with the merits of the bill? And number two, do you agree that he needed her for his legislative agenda and judges for the next 2 years? Then you can...
Like, what we need to fight for is, like, none of these fights matter. None of these fights matter if you have, like, 53, 54 members in the Senate. Then it's over. We don't have to waste time on this retarded autistic shit. Then we just fucking ramrod, okay? Whatever the we want through.
Cannot possibly justify some long-term goal of like pushing her out of the party coming from Biden.
I want to end on this. Like, for me, again, I take your point. But I'm with Beasto. I think that you are so focused on the short term that you're not contemplating the medium or longer term. Where's Biden now? Where's his agenda now? Where are his accomplishments now? They're DOA.
What does that even matter? What relevance is that, bro? Like, did he not get 200 plus judges passed or confirmed? Did he not get all of it? Like, basically all of his legislative agenda. What did you say?
So the Supreme Court, like, yeah, the 200 judge, that's a good thing, right? That's very great, but it's not giving us the security that we need from the judiciary. He got one Supreme Court pick, and we haven't seen a sea change in the judiciary.
What was he supposed to do? Kill Alito and Thomas? What the what was that? We're at a world where we're blaming Biden for not having more Supreme Court picks?
We're continuing to be cucked by the Supreme Court, and what trying to press upon you, and I agree with him, is I think that there's a lack.
Like, this kind of bouncing around it. This is shameless. What are we even talking about at this point? It's like, it's so hard. It's going so far out of the way to try to blame Biden on lack
of focus on the medium and long-term strategy. And whatever the strategy was that led us to here now, I mean, we have to re-examine that.
Yeah, but Biden Biden, at least at the moment, is looking to be considered an utter failure, even though I mean, it's a tragedy, right? The most legislatively and executively accomplished president by his own terms in a 4-year period, who is a fucking pariah right now and maybe considered a pariah for years to come, because the short term ultimately didn't matter nearly as much as we hoped it would. Yes, the judges, I grant you, but that's also by virtue, Hutch, with all due respect, of lifetime appointments. And they are also cuffed by the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, of course, can overrule all 200 of those judges. So Biden's short term accomplishments have been severely neutered.
So it would have been better. So it would have been better for them to be even more neutered.
We're not saying that. I think
No, we're not. Yeah,
But you're not appreciating the value of like what he was able to get done because he didn't pick this fucking intra-party civil war that you guys seem to think he should have done.
we don't have time to correct that. We're just missing each other. You think that?
No. You guys are missing me. I understand your point. Your point is wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Wait, what point do you think is wrong? You're going to trigger desire.
Base! Don't do this. Oh, let's just agree to disagree. They haven't given a single example of anything. They haven't given a single example of anything that Biden could have done differently. Not one. True. And listen to him stand on business. It's not like an agree to disagree. You guys are just wrong. You're just completely wrong. You're just incorrect. That's true.
We're just missing each other. You think that?
No. You guys are missing me. I understand your point. Your point is wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Wait, what point do you think is wrong? You're going to trigger desire.
I'm triggered, boys, because you're conceding to me that it was really important that you're conceding to me that cinema was an essential part of getting his judges confirmed and his legislative tracker. You're conceding that personal relationships matter a lot in politics, and yet you're still telling me that it would have been better for him to bully her. Do you understand how ridiculous and contradictory this is?
No, I don't think it's contradictory at all. I don't see the contradiction. So the contradiction is that pressuring cinema would mean that cinema wouldn't provide her votes on those pieces of legislation. It must be what you're saying. Is that pressuring cinema, right? It would in fact, from Biden specifically, or you're saying in general?
Bullying cinema, like Josiah is suggesting, certainly ran the risk of stifling his legislative agenda. I can't get you guys to acknowledge that, or you guys deflect to say, well, it doesn't matter, he lost, as if that's relevant.
Yeah,
but we're talking about his.
Unfortunately, yeah, I've got to throw in the towel, because I've said that it was absolutely risky and it could have backfired. We're missing each other. You're
missing me.
I'm not hearing you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So again, I say 100% risky, could have absolutely backfired. Are you listening to me?
Yeah. Then you agree with me, by the way.
Sure, I agree with you. I concede to Hutch.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody love everybody. Hey guys, this is no disagreement.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
No,
cool it.
I don't love you guys right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't.
You don't love us?
No, I don't. Because you trigger me and I want to fight you. No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. I'm just playing. But
on a disagreement?
Yeah. No, I'm playing. I do love you guys.
Yeah. All right.